Revelations are much better because you're just drawing into more removal to keep killing their guys. So we're going to see Joe Bass taking at least one mulligan here, as Lutzi looks like he's happy in keeping his 7. And again, you see that Lutzi does have a draw, much like Ken Yeo did have yesterday.
Yeah. So he does have one draw in the Swiss, and yeah, so basically he's fighting his way, just like Ken Yeo did, trying to fight his way up to the 8th seed.
Oh no, it looks like Joe's actually going down to 5 cards. Yikes.
Yeah, that's something to make things harder. The reason the Reanimator deck actually has a pretty decent matchup against Control is because it's still, like, cards like Unburial Rites, it has a lot of 2-for-1s, Grizzly Salvage. It actually generates enough card advantage that Brenden Lutzi has trouble dealing with all of it because all his removal is 1-for-1. When you're starting down 2 cards, it's hard to generate enough card advantage for that to work.
So Lutzi's going to be on the play. He plays a Hallowed Fountain, Bass plays a Godless Shrine. We are underway here in round number 9, the final round of the Swiss. It's going to be a lot of draw, go, play your land action. Players are going to draw a decent amount of cards, as you're going to see the first extra card drawn here by Lutzi via Think Twice. And I think these games are going to take a little while here because Joe is not like your traditional reanimation deck with acidic slimes and all that good stuff.
Right, no, Joe, if you haven't been with us or just joining us today, Joe is playing essentially a Junk Rites deck that's playing a 4th color. It's playing red, and it's playing red for Boros Reckoner and for Sire of Insanity. And in doing that, and also Faithless Looting, and what it's taken out of a typical junk deck, it does not have mana creatures, it does not have Restoration Angels.
Syncopate going to take care of that Lingering Soul, so no flashback is going to be allowed here for Joe, as Lutzi is taking care of what I would say is kind of problem number 1.
Yeah, so Lingering Soul is one of those cards which gives Reanimator that good edge here because, you know, it's more than one threat, but Brenden with a very good answer for it.
Yeah. So Joe's going to cast a Faithless Looting here. You can draw 1, draw 2, draws 2 copies of Dragon Skull Summit.
Yep.
Plenty of cards to discard here.
Right, looting actually card disadvantage the first time you play it, but it usually makes up for more than one card that it costs you because it puts such good things in the graveyard.
Yeah. And now we're going to see a Think Twice here from Lutzi. Going to untap, going to draw, so just building a little bit of velocity as we go. Another Syncopate in his hand right now as well. There's a Desolate Lighthouse and going to pass the turn back, so he is even going to be able to see more cards moving forward.
Yeah. All Lutzi cares about is that, as much as possible, he wants to just be 1-for-1ing. So you have to think about things like, okay, flashback, think twice, +1 card.
Yep.
You know, Faithless Looting, -1 card. If you think about the matchup that way, that's the way the Control player's thinking about it.
Yep. And just trying to save the counter spells for the relevant threats from Joe's deck.
And then he, of course, has that trump in Sphinx's Revelation +5 cards, which eventually happens.
Not a bad trump. Not a bad trump. As you see Brendan's hand, you see a copy of Turn and Burn. There's also a copy of World Leader's Helix over there. So we look at Joe's deck list again. He is kind of a makeshift reanimation deck where Sire of Insanity kind of breaks games open. But this is something that we actually saw this morning and yesterday, Matthias, where Sire of Insanity, it resolving, not a big deal because these Bullet Red control decks have such clean answers to it.
Right, they have Turn Burn, they have War Leader's Helix. On top of that, does he have, those are the 2 big ones. He also has counter spells.
Yeah. Already used 2 Syncopates, does have a Dissipate. It does actually have 2 Dissipates, excuse me. So plenty of ways to counter it.
Lutzi activating a Desolate Lighthouse on instep, just, not actually card advantage, but just gives him the ability to 1-for-1 even more by giving him good card selection.
Yep. So both players are going to be able to draw and see a lot of cards per game. So, when we get to those sideboarded games, they're actually going to be able to find their sideboarded cards pretty easily, as we're going to see an Unburial Rites here targeting a Thragtusk. Azorius Charm is going to get cycled. Lutzi's going to get a little deeper into his deck. Draws another copy of Azorius Charm.
Yeah, he'll probably let that happen. Thragtusk, as long as Lutzi has a Revelation, he can... Thragtusk isn't something he has to get right away, but he has the perfect answer for Thragtusk, too.
Yeah, Turn and Burn in the house. And again, we saw this from Ken yesterday. This is the card that really, I think, is going to turn things around for this deck.
It's going to turn and burn things around for the
Yes,
deck.
it is, because it is so clean, and this deck is going to get to 5 mana often enough that fusing this is not even out of the question. That's going to happen with regularity.
So first it turns Thragtusk into a 0/1, no abilities, then it deals 2 to it, hits the graveyard, no 3/3, no strings.
Yeah. It's nice to actually finally have a clean way to deal with Thragtusk, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of Thragtusk has been there's no way to get rid of it without 2-for-1ing yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it even feels like a 3-for-1 if you're the kind of deck where 5 life feels like a card.
Yeah. So we're going to see some arranging of mana here from Joe. Looks like we might have a judge call situation here. We shall see. It looks like I think he's just going to concede the game. Yeah.
What happened there?
I think he might just be conceding the game because he doesn't think he can win game 1. But we'll find out for sure exactly what's going on in just a moment.
Yeah. Joe drew a sideboard card that game.
Okay. And he called a judge on himself and said as much. So.
Right. To be fair, I think that game is certainly going in Lutzi's favor. If I'm Joe, I'm obviously disappointed that in a feature match like this, and match with top 8 implication that I drew a sideboard card, but maybe it's tempered by the fact that this game was looking pretty bad.
Yeah, and the sideboard card that he drew was Olivia Valderin, and one of it in his sideboard that he forgot to sideboard out. He told the judge, he said, hey, I drew a card in my sideboard. That means I lose, so I'll just sideboard up.
Yeah, this is the second time we've seen this on camera this weekend. What are the strategies that players typically can do to avoid this?
The way that I sideboard is I always sideboard, like when I de-sideboard, I organize my sideboard the same way, the same 15 cards in the same order. I have this thing about me where I organize things alphabetically.
Okay.
Just to make sure that I don't make the mistake. So when I'm looking at my sideboard during tournament, I'm looking at it the same way every single time.
You very quickly recognize what it's supposed to be.
Yes. Additionally, when I do that, when I sideboard cards in and out, the deck protector in the middle. When I sideboard cards out from my main deck, I put them in the front of the deck protector, and the cards that are normally in my sideboard, I put behind the deck protector. So I try to make it pretty clear that what cards are going where and where I need, and make sure that I just don't run into a mistake like that.
Yeah.
I also look at my sideboard before I present my deck every time.
Every game I count my sideboard, make sure it's 15, make sure it's the right 15.
Yeah.
I've also seen some players, especially if that doesn't work for them, what they do is that they leave their sideboard unsleeved and they switch which card in the sleeve. It's very hard to not present a 60 card deck if you only have 60 sleeved cards.
Yes. Now, I don't prefer the de-sleeve approach just because I feel like it's kind of tedious to have to sleeve and unsleeve, and it's just not something I want to worry about during a match, especially if we get in a time situation where it's I don't have the 60 seconds to sleeve and de-sleeve this card and play really quickly. But I do have a method in place. So I think it's pretty important for every player to have a method in place to make sure that they can avoid making a mistake like that, because it's just a game-losing mistake.
That's interesting enough. While on the subject of sideboarding, there is a slight, in the rules change coming up in the middle of July, there actually is a slight change to the sideboarding rules.
Yeah, so the sideboarding rules that's changed now is if you present a deck that is over the 60 card minimum, so if you're down to 60, if it's 62-13, that's fine now, or you can present all 75.
Well, right now, if you have a 62 card main deck, your sideboard still has to be 0 or 15. Those
Correct.
are the only acceptable sizes for a sideboard. But that will be changed as of in mid-July. It's not changed yet.
Yes, that is correct.
And so the new change will be essentially that your main deck can have as many cards as you want.
Yep.
Your sideboard can have anywhere between 0 and 15 cards. Yep. It's fine. I always felt that was a little artificial. I was like, why can't I have a 10-card sideboard if I want to? Why would I, right? 5 cards.
Might as well take the 5 cards, yeah.
But you can have anywhere between the two, and you may make your deck larger during sideboarding if you choose to do so.
Yeah, which is something I like, and also it's something that, it was weird that you could do it in limited but couldn't do it in constructed.
Right.
That was illegal playing limited to sideboard up, and the reason that happened is we saw decks like Dampened Thought in Kamigawa block and other milling decks.
In a lot of junk.
Yeah, you just board in junk and lands.
So here's the question. So if I'm playing, so people at home get this right. So if I'm playing a 60 card deck, 15 card sideboard, and I want to present for game 2 a 65 card deck, that is cool. Right?
That is cool as of July.
As of July. Now, in July, say I'm playing a 62 card deck and a 15 card sideboard, and game 2 I want to present a 60 card deck.
That is not cool.
Now, why is that not okay?
Because your sideboard it can't be above 15 cards.
Okay.
As far I could be incorrect about that,
No,
but I don't think I am.
you cannot. I know you're exactly right.
Yeah, the maximum is 15.
Right.
So you can't have 17 and bring your deck down to 60.
Okay, so as long as your sideboard as long as you don't have more than 15 cards sitting in that deck box and you present your deck, you should be okay. But if you put a 16th one in there and you present, that's going to be an issue.
Bum, bum, bum. And it's a good change overall. It's a change that, makes it so you avoid game losses and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, and the players apparently, they agreed that Joe was probably going to lose anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like Lutzi had full control of that game. He was seeing a lot of cards. It takes his deck a little while to win, but he would have gotten there eventually.
I hadn't seen the revelation yet, so it's not a done deal. But as soon as you see that revelation for 6 come out, then that's pretty much the game.
Yeah, we hadn't seen everyone's best friend Aetherling yet either, but that'll probably show up to the party soon enough, as we're going to see a stomping ground here from Joe coming to play on tap. I got a feeling we might see a Faithless Looting on turn 1. We do. So Cavern Souls and Grizzly Salvage are the cards drawn.
Yeah, it looks like he has a Boros Reckoner and Unburial Rites, I believe. He's discarded Lingering Souls, so kind of generating that sense, Faithless Looting is -1 card, but kind of +1 card because he discarded a Lingering Souls off it.
Yeah. Temple Guardian you can play untapped. We're going to see a mulch. Yes, we are. 4 cards here, Unburial Rites, Godless Shrine, Sunpetal Grove, and Faithless Looting.
2 cards, 2 lands and 2 cards with flashback. I think that just shows how much virtual card advantage Joe gets in this matchup.
Yeah. Pretty good mulch there, too.
Yeah, all 4 cards live.
Sire of Insanity the draw. Going to try to set that up. He's going to play Sunpetal Grove and Flashback Faithless Looting, so he just wants to get deeper into his deck.
Yeah, so interestingly, he goes with flashing back Faithless Looting over playing Boros Reckoner, which he had in his hand there, and it looks like he didn't even have to think about that play. He just knew that this was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I actually want to talk a little bit about that play. So most people say if you have a 3-drop, you're supposed to play the 3-drop. Why would he not make the 3 there?
I think, so playing Boros Reckoner there is an easy play to make, and you're going to see another mulch here. So Angel of Serenity, Rootbound Crag, Harvest Pyre, and Dragon Skull Summit. Playing the 3-drop is an easy play to make. You're going to use all of your mana. You're going to get a clock on the board.
It's a pretty good 3.
Yeah, I mean, that clock is pretty irrelevant against Lutzi's deck. His deck is easily able to take care of a Boros Reckoner. The big thing here is I think that Joe is just trying to set up a Sire of Insanity. That's just the only thing that he cares about.
So if the Boros Reckoner is so not relevant, why is it still in the deck right now?
I think kind of as a decoy, honestly. Maybe that draws out a Turn and Burn. Maybe that draws out a War Leader's Helix, and that's one less of those that Lutzi will have access to take care of that backbreaking Sire of Insanity. Because if Sire of Insanity resolves and the trigger actually does resolve and it's still in play,
nothing else matters.
Yeah, the game is over.
We saw there a Grizzly Salvage from Joe.
Yeah.
Hitting all lands, it looked like.
All right, so there goes Godless Shrine. There goes Stomping Ground.
And he is really just only building up to those high drops, isn't he? He
Yeah.
has just the Sire and the Angel of Serenity. Seem to be all that Joe cares about resolving.
Flashback Lingering Souls. I mean, you can definitely tell the way he's playing. It seems like it's very clear that he has a game plan.
Yeah, he's done this before.
Looks like Searing Spirit goes upstairs. Is that what
Yeah,
happens
not at
there?
a Lingering Soul, so I think it goes upstairs. Brenden possibly wanting to play a Think Twice at some point here, so he just wants to get that out of his hand so he doesn't have to discard.
I think Brenden actually just drew a Terminus for the turn and did not Miracle it. I think he drew his card so fast that he just made a bit of an error there.
Well, what have you Terminus if do you even want to Miracle it here? It's only 2 1/1s.
I would rather Terminus away 2 1/1s, especially when I don't think he has more Lingering Souls in his graveyard. It's just 1 mana. I don't want to pay 6 for it, and I'm willing to trade my Terminus for your 2 guys.
You're very worried that if drawing it, you're just never going to cast the thing?
Yeah. I certainly don't want to tap 6 mana to cast it.
Well, probably not. I mean,
yeah,
that's pretty bad.
If you tap 6 mana to cast it, you're just opening yourself up to just getting sired then.
Yeah. So
the shields are down.
Joe goes straight for the Sire. A little aggressive. I mean, he can't imagine that this is actually, it's very low probability that this is actually going to work, and it does.
Yeah.
Just kidding. All right. I stand corrected. Brenden, despite having many answers to Sire in his deck, none in his hand. Yeah. Oh, hey, Dissipate. Yeah. Discard.
I mean, he did play the Cavern Souls to get the Sire through. So
was counterspell proof.
And because he only had 4 mana available too, it was actually War Leader's Helix or bust there, as you're going to see.
Turn burn. Was there a turn burn in Brendan's hand?
There was no turn burn in his hand, but he only had 4 lands untapped, so even turn burn diffusing it would not matter. It was actually just on a 2-outer to take care of it.
What he can do is he can turn it during the main phase, untap, and then verdict it.
Oh, okay, sure, because it loses the text.
Yeah, it loses the text. So I mean, not exactly the most elegant way of dealing with it, but turn burn still a fair answer.
Yeah, what can't turn burn do? It does actual everything. But Joe Bass does flashback on Burial Rites, gets back Angel of Serenity, puts some cards underneath that, while Lutzi has no cards in his hand, drawing very thin, and we're moving on to a 3rd game. And you can definitely tell there, Matthias, as you said, Joe had a game plan.
Joe knows what he's doing in this matchup. At least from here, someone who hasn't played much with the Reanimator deck, when I see that turn 3 and I see a Faithless Looting, Flashback, and a Boros Reckoner, maybe I play the same thing he does, but I certainly don't play it as fast as he does. I have to sit there and think for a little bit.
Yep.
Joe, completely on autopilot, just all right, I'm going to resolve the Sire, I'm going to Cavern it, and then I'm going to win that way. So I think it was clear what he wanted to do was Cavern a Sire, cast it, and then Unburial Rites the Sire as many times as possible until it's stuck.
Just to keep that thing in play. So we take a look at the sideboard here because we did not get to do that in between the last game. But Lutzi's going to be on the play this game. He has 3 clones, an Aether Lane, 2 Pillar Flame, 2 Renounce the Guilds, 2 Terminus, a Detention Sphere, 2 Negates, a Turn and Burn, and a Counterflux. What you see in his sideboard are a lot of answers to Sire of Insanity. two more Renounce the Guilds, or excuse me, 2 Renounce the Guilds and an additional Turn and Burn. So that gives him up to 7 ways to deal with the Sire of Insanity after sideboard.
Right. So if he didn't have those cards in, I think he probably does now.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, Renounce the Guilds is not a particularly strong card in this matchup, but I'm wondering, do you board it in any way just because of how good Sire is?
Yeah. What lengths will you go to make sure that Sire of Insanity's ability does not resolve?
The only other multicolored permanent in Joe Basso's deck is Boros Reckoner, and Brenden has more than enough ways to answer a Reckoner.
And not only that, but you saw that Joe had no interest in actually casting Reckoner on turn 3, so how important is that card in this matchup even?
Right, so yes, you have a live target of a card that your opponent doesn't even think matters.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, maybe he doesn't bring in both the Renounce the Guilds, but I think maybe he'll bring in 1 just to have an additional out. Maybe his thought is, I don't need 7 ways to take care of Sire of Insanity, but I probably need 6. Maybe that's his thought process.
Right. So on Joe's side, he has a second Sire of Insanity, which could certainly come in. He also plays 2 Slaughter Games, which this is the one matchup where you do like Slaughter Games. Sphinx's Revelation is such a big deal for this blue-white-red control deck.
I mean, I'm kind of interested in naming Turn Burn with that card. Which is
first naming Turn Burn, then naming War Leader Sealers, then playing Sire.
Yeah, then playing Sire and say, I don't think there's any ways for you to stop this. And that sounds radical and crazy, but
it's not that crazy.
Yeah, but I don't think that's that crazy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you have that Sire draw, which you're setting up for, like Joe is doing, it's a pretty reasonable thing to do. You know, that said, there's the safe play is to hit Revelation first.
Yeah. It's definitely radical. I'm bringing up more in jest, but I mean, would I be surprised to see something like that happen and be effective? I don't think so, but I would be a little bit wild.
I mean, Brenden Lutzi has some defenses against Sire of Insanity, one of them being if he just resolves Assemble the Legion first, then he can not care about Sire.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We see both players. I think we're looking at opening hands here. Yeah, it looks to be the way. And Joe's going to take a mulligan. And we'll see if Lutzi's going to keep. It looks like he is.
He's on the play keeping. Yeah, if Joe's mulliganing, that means Lutzi has kept since he's on the play of the game.
So again, Joe's deck is a deck that does mulligan pretty well because he does have Mulch and Grizzly Salvage and Faithless Looting. So even though Faithless Looting is card disadvantage, but yeah, it's a deck that does mulligan quite well, and he has plenty of cards he wants to discard.
And it's only card disadvantage in the theoretical sense of, yeah, okay, you're actually down a card when you play it. The amount of value it gets out of it, like I said, almost always replaces what it's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we saw there that Joe knows exactly what his game plan is in this matchup. It's to get the Sire of Insanity. It's to get the Angel of Serenity. Those are the only cards that matter. The nice thing here as well is that Joe likely knows that there's no graveyard removal to have to worry about. Not even a card like Purify the Grave. Nothing crazy like Rest in Peace.
There is one Purify. No, that's in Joe's sideboard. Just kidding.
That's in Joe's. Yeah.
I do find it interesting that Brenden doesn't have Rest in Peace. A lot of times these white control decks, these Revelation decks play a Rest in Peace because looping Angel of Serenities is one of the ways that you can beat them in the late game.
Sulphur Falls pass. As we see, Joe, does he have a second land? Uh-oh.
He has a Godless Shrine. It looks like he's going to loot first. He does have a Slaughter Games in his hand. It's going to be interesting to see what he chooses to slaughter if he makes it up to the mana to do so. It looks like he only has that second land, so he drew a Faithless Looting. Typically, that's what you discard. I don't think that's what he'll be discarding right now.
Yeah, I don't think in this sequence that's not what he's going to discard. He's going to discard Lingering Souls and a Harvest Pyre, play a Godless Shrine, and pass the turn back.
Yeah, so interesting. He had a Reckoner in his hand and the Harvest Pyre in his hand. He has very little interest in that combo. It seems that when Joe plays it, he has interest in almost nothing but Sires.
Yeah. Joe going to draw a card here. What does he draw?
Temple Garden.
Okay. Land was important there, I think. Faithless Looting.
See Grizzly Salvage, Sun Petal Grove.
All right, so he's got the engine online now because he got the mana.
Yep, he has the mana. Yeah, he gets to play. He actually has enough. He's discarding Temple Garden.
Yeah. Pass turn back, flashback thing twice here from Brenden. Gonna draw a card for his turn, and he does have a 4th turn play in the form of Jake's Architect of Thought. The big question is he willing to pull the trigger on that?
Yeah, so I mean, he has to expect that Joe's going to Grizzly Salvage here. Joe opted not to flashback Lingering Souls, despite having black-green up.
And the tough thing here is, like, the shields are down, but if Joe perfects on a Grizzly Salvage,
he can make a Sire.
Yeah, he can make a Sire.
That has to be so, but it really, I think you're willing to play around that perfect, right? Maybe you don't have to, is what you're saying? So like,
I mean,
why risk it?
Like, it depends on like the contents of your hand. Like, if you don't need counter magic, or you don't feel comfortable bluffing counter magic, then that's fine. Like, maybe you're comfortable just being a tap out deck.
There's a turn burn and then a helix and land, and Brenden values the turn burn enough that he's just going to take it. Perhaps he just doesn't need more lands. Turn burn does answer Thragtusk in addition to Sire.
All right, so there's your Grizzly Salvage, and it's not a perfect one. You see Dragon Skull Summit, Slaughter Games, Mulch, Thragtusk, and Faithless Looting. So Thragtusk is going to go to the grip. Bast is going to untap. He's going to draw. It's an Unburial Rights.
Yeah, so the other value you got there is getting another looting in the graveyard.
Here's
and
a Slaughter Games.
I have to think it's naming. It could be naming Turn Burn, which would be hilarious, or it could be naming Sphinx's Revelation,
Yeah.
which I think is what it does. We'll see what he named, and he did name Sphinx's Revelation and caught one in his hand. I mean, that's 90% of the time the correct name.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain board situations where, you know, maybe you gave an opponent a pile off Jace where you know he has doubles of a card.
Yep.
Maybe you have a second Slaughter Games, but Revelation, almost always the first name.
Yep. So we see Turn and Burn, Hollowed Fountain, Jace Architect of Thought, Clone, Glacial Fortress in the hand there for Lutzi. Slaughter Game's going to resolve. Joe's going to go through the deck. Get the rest of those revs out of here and try to play a more fair game with his opponent.
Yeah, remember he wants to make sure he gets all 4 of them. You just have to assume your opponent's playing 4. He got through, only got 3. He's like, no way, there's only 3.
We're actually going to check. There are only 3 in his main deck.
And there's only 3 in his main and not a 4th in the board,
Yeah.
so he's only playing 3 Revelations. I'm shocked.
Double checking is perfectly fine. I'm a little bit surprised as well. But
It looks like he cut a Revelation for a Snapcaster Mage. There were only 2 Snapcaster Mages in Ken's deck. There are 3 here. That makes I don't understand that. I don't know. I've always been of the opinion that, like, I don't know why you're playing less than 4 Revelations, at least in a deck that's so controlling as this. But he does get all 3 of them, so Brenden will have to be forced to make card advantage the hard way, you know, with just Jaces and Think Twices.
Terminus to draw for Brenden this turn. Of course, a useless draw at this point in time.
Right.
Jace's going to move up.
If you're Joe here, I feel like you're now hoping to maybe land and assemble the Legion. You feel a little more pressed to actually play a threat, because you know that you can't just bury them in card advantage.
Sure. So there's your Faithless Looting at flashback. He draws another Faithless Looting and an Unburial Rights.
Seeing this card, it looks like he's going for both Unburial Rights into the graveyard. No interest in casting them out of his hand.
Yeah, I mean, he knows there's no punishment really for putting him in the graveyard because there is no graveyard here. So
Yeah, I mean, he's positive there's no Rest in Peace. Certainly he's playing like there's none.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that. He's definitely playing like there's none. Jace is going to move on up. Here's a Grizzly Salvage.
So to be fair, actually, if he suspects Rest in Peace, I mean, he would also discard the Unburial Rights. So that doesn't... Right? 'Cause
Yeah.
then they're terrible once the Rest in Peace is in play. And he gets the Sire.
And one Sire in hand, one Sire in the bin.
And have just a lot of insane plays.
So you see Joe looking at Hand of Angel Serenity, Thragtusk, Siren Sanity, Faithless Looting. What to do, what to do.
So he doesn't have the 6th land, does he? So he can't actually cast the Sire out of his hand?
Does not look like he has a 6th land right now.
What's really nice about having the reanimation spell out of the graveyard and the Sire in the graveyard is that it plays around Dissipate and Syncopate really well. You know, that Sire cannot get exiled. Brendan's going to actually just have to counter every single Unburial Rights on a Sire, by either with a counter spell or a removal spell.
So let's see what avenue Joe wants to take here. Does he want to flashback on Unburial Rights? Does he want to maybe just cast a Thragtusk? But that will die to Turn Burn. But is he okay with that dying to Turn Burn?
I think so. I mean, Turn Burn is one of... Because that gets one answer to Sire out of Brendan's hand. And Thragtusk resolves. Let's see, with a clone in his own hand, he may just choose to clone the Thragtusk.
Dangerous.
So, that's very dangerous. At this point, tapping out at all is dangerous for Brenden.
Oh, Terminus!
Pretty decent one. Still has a 3/3 to deal with,
Yep.
but lets him answer the Thragtusk without a mana investment. Otherwise, what Brenden has to do is that he has to take hits off Thragtusk and then kill it on end step so that he leaves up enough mana for the potential Sire.
Yeah. And Jace's going to go down. We're going to show you a Snapcaster Mage, a Terminus, and a Syncopate.
No way that Joe can... Well, let's see, there's not a counterspell in Lutzi's graveyard yet, so Snapcaster not really a card yet. Joe has to Joe probably suspects there's some sort of counter magic in Brenden's hand, so that the snap, there's probably just 2 counter spells in this pile. Certainly needs to make sure he separates the Syncopate and Snapcaster.
I think, yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Maybe we see the old 3-0 split. I think I can't lose. How about this split?
Alright, so we see Terminus on one side and Syncopate Terminus. Sorry, Syncopate Terminus going on the bottom, Snapcaster on the other side.
There's a Hall of Fountain, then pass turn. Draw a card. I think the turn starts with that beast getting into chase.
Absolutely.
Just want to get that part.
Well, because Brenden can't tap out to kill it.
Yeah.
Now Brenden back to 1 card a turn.
So that's step 1.
So it'll be interesting. When do you think Joe starts? Joe eventually will get on the plan where he's going to try to make Sire of Insanity every turn. And the question is, when does he start doing it?
As we're going to see it, flashback Faithless Looting. Hit 1, hit 2.
All right, there's some lands. He almost certainly wants one of the lands. I don't know if he wants the other one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he definitely wants one. I mean, what he's really digging for is Cavernous Souls, I think. I think that's the one card that he cares about.
He feels no rush to actually play the Sire out of his hand. He wants to just make, he wants to eliminate as many answers as possible that Brenden could have. I'm not sure he needs to Cavern it, just for the fact that, so say Brenden has a counterspell, right?
Sure.
The counterspell, so maybe the Sire from his hand isn't counterable, but Brenden probably has another way to answer that Sire. And then when he starts flashing back on Burial Rites on Sires, those are going to be counterable. So if Brenden has a counterspell, it's going to get a Sire no matter what happens. Sure. So I don't feel it's really relevant whether or not he caverns this first Sire out of his hand. The counterspell is going to get one.
So here's a Jace, and that's moving up. So now he has Dissipate at the ready, but he's representing 3 mana and not 5.
Right, now he is vulnerable to Cavernous Souls. And fortunately for Brenden Lutzi, I don't believe Joe has the Caverns.
Not there yet. He's going to start here with the Beast getting into Jace.
And how sick would that be if Joe just had the Cavern the whole time and was sandbagging for this point?
It'd be pretty good. It would be masterfully played, I would say. Faithless Looting on the flashback. So let's see 2 new ones. Hit 1, hit 2. Stomping Ground and Angel's Serenity. When is he going to start flashing back these Burial Rites? That's the big question right now.
Yeah, I mean, I like how patient he's being with it. Is there a point at which the one worry he has to have is if he waits too long on the Sire play and Brenden finds Assemble the Legion, then it stops working.
Yep, I agree with you there.
He's Unburial Rites targeting. Probably Sire, doesn't matter.
And he definitely knew that Dissipate was a thing that's going to happen.
So that's what I mean by, I don't care about the Cavern. See, the Dissipate killed a Sire there.
Yeah.
There is at least one more, I believe one more Unburial Rites in the yard, and then 1 Sire in hand. So
at least 1 more Unburial Rites.
So he's going to need answers to 2 more Sires.
Yeah.
Or just he needs to find an Etherling or even a Tamiyo would work. The Tamiyo, the Etherling, or the Assemble the Legion.
Yeah. Needs a way to finish it out, basically.
The one danger about turning on that Dissipate is now that you let him Dissipate there, he did give Brenden a Snapcaster Mage, so he has turned on another answer. It may be one of those situations where he wants... I guess there's no real... if he goes for 2 Unburial Rites in the same turn, then both the counterspells can't happen. It's still probably the Snapcaster is going to be a counterspell. It's pretty hard to set up a situation where it's not.
Sure. So we're going to see another Faithless Looting here. We'll see what cards are going to be discarded. Boros Reckoner and it looks like Angel's Serenity, or Boros Reckoner and Blood Crypt, excuse me, were the cards that were drawn off of that Faithless Looting. So let's see what Joe wants to do.
He may discard both. Those are cards that he has previously not shown much interest in.
It's kind of scary too right now, right? We don't have a good count on how many cards Joe has left in his deck, but he is breezing through his deck. And I don't want to say that decking is... I mean, excuse me, I will actually say that decking is a realistic possibility here.
Yeah, Joe can always stop casting these things. And
I think
Brenden has no way to mill him.
I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible.
I feel like, having played Frights before, which essentially this has the whole Frights engine, if their deck has something like a Jace Memory Adept, it's obviously terrifying. You sometimes do mill your whole deck, but you're not losing because you milled your whole deck, you're losing because they actually answered all your Unburial Rites. So you have to keep track of, how much how many things are actually left in my deck? You have
Sure.
to have that tally going on in your head, because sometimes they can answer all of them.
So no Dissipate. Or, excuse me, no Snapcaster plus Dissipate on the Boros Reckoner. Additionally, no removal spell either of the Turn and Burners. We're going to see a Jace Memory Depth reveal 3 lands, which is pretty irrelevant.
Yep, and the Jace suicided to essentially draw a land.
Yep.
Brenden makes that play because that's the last time he'll get to -2 a Jace.
And the verdict is in.
Yep.
5 mana up for Turn and Burn being fused.
And he has a pair of them. Brenden, having lost a game to that Sire of Insanity, is now very aware that that's how he loses another game. He's pretty conscious not to do so.
Yeah. Is he going to go digging again?
I'm wondering, has Joe given him too much time to sculpt the perfect hand here?
I mean, I don't think he's got enough time to... I don't think he's had the ability to sculpt, is the thing. Like, he's drawing a card every turn. Like, sculpting would require some Think Twices and, like, some Sphinx's Revelations. I think
He's just
has
giving him
tools.
enough draw steps.
Yeah, he's giving enough draw steps, but he needs to start one-for-oneing himself. Like, okay, like, trade with your Turn and Burn, trade with your Turn and Burn, you know, and just start to push through his stuff.
I almost feel like one of the dangers, Joe, since he's really not casting any threats that's not Sire, like, I don't know how hard it actually is for Lutzi's deck to just, you know, to just save enough answers for all the Sires.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Joe needs to get him to expend removal spells on other things.
Yeah, to me, I feel like what needs to happen for Joe is he just, you know, starts getting those Sires into play. Like, the first one gets Turn and Burn, the second one gets Turn and Burn, whatever happens, and then you follow up with the Haymaker that's Angel's Serenity.
Yeah.
And that's how you try to win the game.
I'm a little wary of discarding this other Unburial Rites. I kind of want to see it get cast out of the hand. And I mean, obviously Brenden has the Snapcaster Dissipate to get both halves of it on one spell. But I mean, we're not sure that Brenden would actually play it that way. You know, you maybe conveyed it and get both halves of that being live.
And so you saw Joe flashback on Barrow Rights on Sire of Insanity, and it died to Turn and Burn being fused, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, Brendan's hand still with another Turn Burn and a Snapcaster Mage, so 2 more Sire answers. That's as many Sires as Joe can try to make. He has 1 Unburial Rites in the yard and another Sire in his hand.
Yep.
So he's going to need a different plan. He's going to...
He's going to salvage now, too? He's going to mulch?
Sure.
I'm very interested in how
and
many cards are in
another,
that deck.
Another Sire into the graveyard. That's 3, right? Yeah, it's 2 in the main and 1 on the board, so that's all of them. Well, and it's not how many cards are left, you know, it's just like how many relevant spells are left. Okay, so we count the relevant spells, all the Sires have been milled. He plays 4 Angel of Serenities, and 1's in his hand, 1's in his yard, I believe. He plays 4 Unburial Rites, 2 are in exile, 1's in the yard, 1's in the deck.
Yep.
So you kind of keep that checklist going. And those are all the tools he has left to make a threat. And so he has to try to come up with a situation where Brenden can't answer them. Also, both Slaughter games are already in the graveyard, so he can't use that to rip any of the answers out of Brendan's hand proactively.
He definitely needs to present a threat this turn, too, though. And I think now, at this point in Matthias, I think he needs to start presenting a threat every turn and get to the point where he can actually start presenting 2 threats a turn.
Right, I mean, he should start trying Angel of Serenities fairly soon. I feel like he... at some point here was discarding too many of the threats. You know, you can always discard an Angel, but at some point, you know, it's like, so he has an Unburial Rites in the yard is 1, a Sire in hand is 2, an Angel in hand is 3, the Unburial Rites in the deck is 4, maybe 5. It's like, there are only 5 spells left in Joe's deck that actually matter here.
Yep.
And so if Brenden has 5 answers, Joe can't win.
And this is what we thought can end up happening, right? Where you're going to see another Grizzly Salvage here from Joe. He's going to turn over a Thragtusk, a Mulch, a Salvage, an Unburial Rites, and a Cavern of Souls. But this is why Aetherling is so good. There's numerous reasons why Aetherling is so good, but Blue, White, Red had difficulty closing out games. Now Joe has just been like messing around, manipulating, like salvaging, faithless looting, mulching, doing all of these things, but not really accomplishing anything or setting up this game plan that's going to take a while. And it's like Brenden finally drew his 1 Aetherling. He's like, all right, play this.
It's a 3-turn clock for sure.
There's no more messing around. Now you actually have to do something.
To be fair, we found that there were 5. So that's that last Unburial Rites. Is it possible that Brenden has 5 answers in his deck to like to monsters essentially in his hand right now? Like, if he could do 5 answers, then this Aetherling actually doesn't matter. You know, Brenden has just already won the game if he's holding them.
Sure.
I don't think he does have 5, but so now the thing is the Aetherling's a 3-turn clock. What that means is Joe no longer has 5 Haymakers. He now has, well, you'd say 3, but Brenden can actually let Sire resolve.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now, like his Sire of Insanity game plan, it's like go for it. Like, that resolves Sire versus...
Sure, we'll both discard our hands.
Yeah, we'll both discard our hands, and it's like, yes, you can like make some Thragtusk, but Aetherling can get in for 8 because he has so many lands, untap, block,
kill Thragtusk,
yeah, block,
swing
kill
8.
Thragtusk. Yeah, it can just do all of these things.
Right. Now, we've seen before, Aetherling, one of those cards, and what I've been saying, if that card should never touch the graveyard if you're playing control correctly.
Yes.
Maybe if you're playing a control mirror and they have a lot of counter spells and you hit the graveyard that way, I'll allow it. But if it once it touches the table, it should not be hitting the graveyard.
Yeah. Now here's Cavernous Souls. Here's 4 mana. Here's some Barrow Rights being flashed back.
All right. Sure. Let's see what when Brenden will say, all right, let's see what you're going for. I would imagine that he's going to go for Angels instead at this point.
Let's just Snapcaster Dissipate.
Yep. All right, and the Cavern Soul's named a demon to cavern up the 1 Sire left in his hand.
Yep. Library of 10 cards now. Now,
Yeah.
again, I agree with you that it doesn't matter that much, maybe as much as I thought it did, but it's not irrelevant.
More what matters is the library is at 0 relevant spells.
Yeah.
I think it has 2 Angels left in it, and I don't think it has anything else relevant left.
But I don't even know how relevant Angel is now.
No, I'm being generous when I say relevant.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I could count Lingering Souls as relevant, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think that's relevant at all. Aetherling is really good at making things irrelevant.
Is there a chance that he can Reckoner Harvest Pyre here? Maybe if he's left enough copies of that in, and I don't know what numbers he's left in, that still might be in his deck. He drew a Reckoner. We saw him mill 1 Harvest Pyre. If he's kept the second one, then there's another relevant card in his deck.
That's true.
But that is about it, and he is taking a beating every turn. He only took 4 that turn, is that right?
Yeah, he didn't pump at all.
Okay. Still very worried about Sire. Maybe more than he needs to be, I'm not sure.
That's a scary card.
So Sire and Joe Bass is going to make that 4th land so he can unbarrel Rights the Sire if Brenden has a removal spell for it. Remember, Brenden has to remove it during the main phase, so Joe can actually make 2 Sire of Insanities.
Yep. So here's Syncopate for 1. And now here's Turn Burn for the Sire. So.
Alright, all the Sires dealt with. And I'm not sure what that Unburial Rights was targeting. Maybe it was another Sire.
I mean, something that was relevant enough that it's got Syncopated.
Right.
And now we're going to see a draw. There's a Sulphur Falls. You want to put every land into play when you have Aetherling. And now we see a Terminus and a Clone in the hand. And what we can actually end up seeing now, Matthias, is now we can see Clone on Aetherling. And I think that's completely reasonable.
Maybe even Clone on Thragtusk. Both are pretty good. I mean, in theory, the Aetherling should never die, so you don't need 2 of them.
Yeah, and I don't see why he needs anything but Aetherling, truthfully. Because
you mean you just want more untapped blue sources?
Yeah, I mean you just clone the Aetherling and then it can just block the Thragtusk and phase out
I think
and never deals
if
damage.
Joe's hand, and I don't think it can be based on the graveyard, but Joe's hand is all Thragtusks, Joe could race the Aetherling. I know that's not what it is and that's not happening. But that'd be a reason why maybe if you cloned a Thragtusk, that probably takes away that out.
I suppose,
you got to be thinking in these doomsday scenarios when you're playing control.
Sure.
You know, like what if all he has is more Thragtusk? Then this race might not work. Better cover my outs.
Yeah,
you know?
that's completely fair. I mean, you see Joe's at 14 right now. Like, he's at 14.
Right, we're winning the race.
Yeah, Aetherling's attack for 8. You make them both unblockable. You pump them. That's 16 damage.
Right, Joe without instant speed removal. That is lethal next turn.
Yeah.
There should be enough blue here that he can save both Aetherlings, as it looks like Clone has copied the Aetherling.
Yeah. So unless Joe has like a Harvest Pyre right now, I'm not sure that he can win.
Yeah, he has to Harvest Pyre Reckoner. That's, I think, his only out here. But granted, I think it is an out.
So here's Angel Serenity.
That's not going to matter. Sure, Angel Serenity resolves.
Yeah.
Flicker my guys.
I mean, he can even...
Now, does he have to be careful which order he flickers them in?
Well, he flickers
he gets
them
to
in
choose
and then,
which order they come back.
Yeah, because he gets to choose the order that they come back. Yeah.
Okay, so he will get 2 Aetherlings. Yeah, if Joe Bass, interestingly enough, if he had the Harvest Pyre,
Yeah, he concedes the game.
Yeah. All right, so Brenden Lutzi at 7-1-1 gets that last spot in the top 8. Once again, we have that blue-white control deck sneaking in as the 8th seed.
Yeah, and this is the thing with blue-white red, and this is the point we've been kind of harping on with Aetherling, and why people are going to make the transition to that card, because old blue-white red decks, it took them so long to close out games Like, that's why Jerry Thompson at the Pro Tour that he top 8'd in Montreal, he had to go towards the Boros Reckoner Harvest Pirate kill because closing out a game was actually difficult. Aetherling doesn't let you mess around. Like, Joe was sitting there messing around, seeing a million cards, and then Brenden just finally just drew an Aetherling, and it's just like, oh no, I actually have to like actually do something now.
There's so many resilient threats and so many threats that require very specific answers that oftentimes you get these situations where you control the board and you could still lose them. You know, like for example, take Sire of Insanity. Okay, I can cavern it. You know, it has a 4 toughness, so some of your kill spells don't work on it. You need to have an instant speed answer because it has this annoying end step trigger. Like, alright, so that's one guy that's hard to answer. Angel of Serenity, you know, can't be answered by a 4 damage spell, rebuys things from the graveyard. So it's like all these threats that people play have so many different facets to them that even when you try your best, sometimes you don't have the right answer. So being able to just at some point say, I